National has to offer tax cuts, but the question is to who, how, and when, writes Duncan Garner in his NBR column this week. Duncan, we've already seen National talk about ditching the top tax rate. Getting harder and harder to justify that, though?
Yeah, I think it probably is. I mean, it was all very well when they announced it. It locks in the base, and Christopher Luxon needed to do that, needed to remind people that, hey, this is what National stands for. It's pretty much their sole and solid concrete policy that they've had for a number of years now across successive elections. So he had to remind people that this is what they stand for, lower taxes. Because all very well talking about lower taxes, but at some stage you have to act on lower taxes, which is creates revenue holes. And at this particular time in the juncture of New Zealand history, we're sitting at high debt levels now. As a result, we had the ability to borrow, so we did, and we needed to keep the economy pumping and going. So that was a no-brainer. But you got to pay it back at some stage, and that's intergenerational. But you don't pay it back by
Taxing less.
cutting a hole in the revenue base, so and taxing less. So there's a problem there, and also it's an equity issue. So we've got more people in motels than ever, massive state house waiting lists. We've got people living back again in cars and on the streets, and so this is our problem, whether we like it or not. We have to address it, and if you're going to give tax cuts to the highest earning New Zealanders ahead of help at the bottom, then I think you may look out of touch, and you may actually it goes against you. Yeah, 3% will vote for you, but you need 50. So my view is you should target a much wider. If you're going to cut taxes, now's not the time to cut taxes. In my view, look what's happening in Britain. But if you're going to do it, and they have to do it because they are that's their trick.
That's who they are.
This is the one trick party. So it's who they are. Labor spends. These guys tax cut. So do you give it across the board at a no threshold with having basically no taxes up to a certain threshold? I think the time's come for that discussion.
There's not even much evidence out there that people even would want that tax cut,
No.
right? There's more pressing issues for businesses in particular.
Businesses will tell you that staffing are the biggest issues now. Getting good staff, getting qualified staff, retaining good staff, and this global market's really hard. So that's an issue. And what does National go and do? Talks about the one-trick pony. They need to get more creative in their policy discussion. They need to be able to say to New Zealanders, right, that's what we stand for. These are the 5 things. And they've always had the personal responsibility, the tax cuts and so forth. What does it mean in terms of concrete policy? Policy, you can feel it. Labor will come at these guys in the next election. Don't doubt this. They'll fight. They'll fight and empty their army onto National because they hold the treasury benches, so that means they hold the purse strings. So they can do what they like, and they'll come up with a big bribe. What's National's response? And how does National reach into the middle voter and get them excited? Because it's all about saying give the top end guys a tax break. Well, they expect that from National. They're going to vote for them anyway. There's no votes in this. It's just a given. Try and reach the middle. Try and reach those on $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 who are ambitious to get to the top tax bracket. New Zealanders don't actually want tax cuts. One news poll had 65% people saying no, don't bother cutting the top end tax rate. Australia's is 45 cents, ours is 39. There's cracks in about the same level, 180. But we aren't highly taxed. This idea that we pay far too much tax, you may feel like that, but have a look at an OECD scale, and I think you'll be surprised that that's why we struggle with our public services.
Yeah. Do you think there are any lessons as well from the UK, what we've seen over there recently with the U-turn on the...
Don't rush something you don't know anything about, and don't give top-end tax cuts to the elite, because that's not where the trouble is. The problem is people living in motels, cars, and so we need to get our resourcing right in this area, because those people grow up and they get involved in society. Now, we don't want them to be bitter, twisted and angry. You need to have a certain assimilation amongst, dare I say, class warfare in New Zealand. And we're going to go that way because we've got top end, bottom end. And the socioeconomic gap is massive now. National's never been one to want to close it. Labor's tried and utterly failed. They've made it worse. But somehow you have to at least seem to be addressing it. If Luxon doesn't address it, then he looks out of touch.
So what could National do in the tax space then?
I think it's at the bottom end. It could be transformational. Australia's got a tax-free threshold, right? So no one pays any tax on a certain sum of money. You could go to 20 grand, but depends on what your costings are. But in that way, everyone wins, because every New Zealand taxpayer earning up to, say, let's just call it 10,000. So up to 10,000, you call it tax-free. So your first $10,000 you earn is take-home pay. No one messes with it, apart from maybe some KiwiSaver contributions,
sure,
which is optional. I think this is something that we haven't tested. It's expensive, but so is everything. So is light rail. So is health reform. So is merging TVNZ and Radio New Zealand, which is the most unwanted, unpopular, unnecessary merger and waste of public money ever.
Mm.
But so there are ways to save money and do this. But you need to make sure that everyone wins, especially the middle classes, because I think they're the forgotten group in this last 6 years of this government. Anything over $70,000, Labor don't see you. Labor sees you from $70,000 and below. That's the constituency. But there are still plenty of New Zealanders above that 70. Maybe not much above it, but they feel like they want to keep moving above it, and you would if you're ambitious. They're looking for someone to park their vote. So these guys need to make it attractive. It's a tough battle for National. They effectively right now are questioning whether they walk away from this promise, because it deems Luxon out of touch immediately. Oh, he's giving money to the wealthy, so Luxon will get $12,000 or $13,000 a year out of it. What does he need it for? We're living in a motel. You see the debate going on. So almost for his own survival, he needs to review it.
Easy attack point for Labor, isn't it?
Totally. Robertson will have a field day. You're giving money to yourself and not to the people in the motel. I can hear it now.
Yeah.
So you need to protect yourself. You need to work out what they're going to say about you, and then make sure that you nullify that. You can do that a year out from the election. They're going to have to slowly dispose of this policy. I just don't know how they're going to do it, because they're a tax cut party. So as soon as they dispose of it, it's a really tough situation. As soon as they dispose of it, what do you stand for?
Yeah.
More public service. Well, no, that's the other party. Although in saying that, Grant Robertson has spent $128 billion. How's it look?
Yeah.
If we spent less, would we get something more? Arguably, you'd say no, but I don't know. Maybe you might with the right sort of qualitative look at it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Interesting times. Be interesting.
We're throwing money away, I reckon.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's this week's Duncan Disorderly. Duncan, thanks for your time.
Cheers. You're welcome.